Well, welcome to the live stream. Just checking the audio, got my headphones on tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. It sounds like I have audio. So let me know if you guys are having any issues hearing me. I'm looking at the levels and we should be good. Anyway, it's Tuesday again. And we are in the studio. I'm really kind of focusing today on four things. If you saw the still image, I want to take a look at what's on my shelf. You see all these videos out there on what's in my bag. And I noticed that Peter McKinnon did another one, I think the last couple days. I'm not making fun of it. I just thought, hey, why don't I do something different? Let's change it up and let's do what's on the shelf. So you may have noticed here in the studio that I have some characters on my shelf. And when I was building the studio and we decided to put some shelves up to kind of give us that look as you come from this other camera down the wall, I wanted to give it some depth. I wanted to put some things on the shelf. You guys see the monkeys in the back, and I'm not going to talk about the monkeys tonight. We're going to talk about the things that are up on this shelf and in just a minute. But first of all, I wanted to welcome you. Good to see you, Freddie. Anybody else that jumps on here, please let me know. My name is Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. This is our live on Tuesdays, usually at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time here in the United States of America. And it's very cool. We've had people from around the country, which is awesome. Also some people from the States, and that's exciting for me. Last week was a pleasure. I got the incredible privilege to have a special guest. We'll talk about that here in a second. So not only are we going to talk about what's on the shelf, if you're just now jumping on, or if you're watching this already recorded, we're also going to talk about my BenQ 32-inch monitor. I got to thinking about it. I've had some conversations with some people here that I've met on this channel, and I've been just thinking about what it added to my studio. And so I want to talk about the BenQ, and I'm going to use my phone as a mobile camera. It's right above my head. I'm going to reposition that here in a minute. When we look at the characters on the shelf, maybe it took me a while to get it set up, so I might just bring these things down off the shelf, being that's not in the picture tonight. So the other thing I wanted to say is we're going to look at a MixEffect update. That last week, I told you I had a special guest, and I was very honored to have Adam Tao, who made MixEffects, which is an application that you can use on your Apple device. It's got to be, I think, version 6 or newer. You can even use it on the iPad Touch, your iPad, as well as your iPhone. I've downloaded the app, and it helps you operate remotely the ATEMs. So all the ATEMs. And so found out this week that Adam did video, and we're going to look at a clip of that. I have his permission to show it. And we're going to look at a part where he talks about what's coming out in a new update this week. There was an update last Tuesday night, right after the live stream when I had Adam on. And so I downloaded that, and there's going to be another update as well here very soon. Evidently, after he submits them, Apple has to approve them. And that's what he was waiting for, actually, when he was on with us last week. And he gave us a demo, and it was exciting to have him here on the channel. So we're going to look again at a short clip with Adam from his YouTube channel, and then I'll show you how to get to his YouTube channel here on my computer as I show my desktop. But we're going to play a clip on my HyperDeck because I was having commercials pop up today when I was trying to show it directly from the YouTube channel, and I just want to try to keep it just Adam tonight. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to give you a sneak peek of my HyperDeck series. Pretty much version 1 is all edited. Part 2, which is way shorter than part 1, which you saw a clip up last week. So if you go back to last week's live with Adam, I also show a clip of the first of that series. It looks right now like it's going to wrap up at 5 of those, and they're releasing here really soon. I can't tell you when, because I want to release all 5 together, and I'm just editing, making sure that the details are there, and just watching them and thinking from your perspective If you've never touched the HyperDeck before, or you have one in your studio, I'm trying to make it relative to what people need to see and hear and learn. I wish you could be in the studio and we could all be hands-on, but that's not what we get to do here on YouTube. So we're going to make that video series as good as possible. It is going to be free right here on my YouTube channel. I decided that that's just the way it needs to go. I want to help people integrate the HyperDeck in their studios. Now, when I visited one of the local venues, and I'll keep this intro a little bit short. I want to say hi here in a minute as you guys jump on. But when I visited one of the venues here in my local area, which we did not show yet on the live stream, we'll get to that, as well as the venue I just went and helped set up all the way over on the other side of the state of Washington. I'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit, but again, tonight we want to talk about what's on the shelf. We want to talk about my BenQ 32-inch monitor here in the studio and how it helps me and why I added it. We want to look at that update in MixEffect, and then we're going to look at session 2 of the HyperDeck series, a clip of that, and then hopefully that series will be out here very, very, very soon. And then a couple things I will do before the Q&A. I just want to give you guys an update on my trip over to the other side of the mountains and setting up a venue there, and just kind of some of the things that we ran into, some of the challenges if we have time tonight. So I'm hoping to kind of break this into 10-minute segments and get it all done in an hour. So ring the bell if I do it in an hour. If I go over, you know, it is what it is. So again, I'm Keith. This is Live Journey Production Studios. It is Live Tuesday here, and we have a mixed bag, as I said in the still. I got a lot of things that I want to cover tonight. So let's start with, I've been kind of trying to remember, you know, the good memories when I was growing up as a kid and things throughout my life that encourage me or make me smile. And not so long ago, probably a few years back, someone asked me if I had a favorite car. I mean, I was never really that much into automobiles. And so I was racking my brain. I remember my first car when I was a teenager, but I was never like that starstruck kid that I could remember. And as you get older, you know, you forget lots of things in your childhood. You have those memories, right? I remember the first time I tried to get up on skis at the lake, water skiing behind a motorboat. I remember going to swimming lessons, trying to learn to swim. I remember trying to learn how to ride my bike without training wheels. A lot of those type memories. But there's lots and lots of my past I don't remember. So I was just really trying to recapture. And then it's not just when I was younger, right? But as I get older, there's these things that just kind of jump out at me. There's special moments. And some of those things that you actually discover about yourself, you could actually put a little icon. You could get a little framed picture. You could have something on your social media page, but you could also have it on the shelf. And so in your studio or wherever you're at, when you look around and you're working in there, like I work in this studio and then we do live streaming. So I have projects and I have things I have to prepare for clients. But at the same time, I'm in here all the time. And occasionally I just want to sit back in the chair and I want to look around the room, and I have things right here that are all work related in front of my eyes. But if I just raise my eye level up just a little bit, there's this shelf. So the car that jumped out at me that I did kind of have a moment when I was a kid was back when I was very, very young. And there was a series called Batman and Robin on television. It started in 1966. And they had the Batmobile, which was kind of the first mainstream Batmobile. There's lots of versions of it now, including a new movie eventually that will be coming out. But I remembered this a while back, and I asked my wife on Christmas if she asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I said, I want a Batmobile. And she said, what? And I kind of told her the story, something I could collect. And literally on Christmas Day, I got 3 Batmobiles, and the 2 are up on the top. I'll show you guys at a later date, but let me get these guys down. So came with these 2 little pewter characters, Batman and Robin. I have a lot of fun with those. You'll probably see those guys at the end of my video. But mostly the reason I got this, and I'm a big fan. When I was younger, I wanted to be Batman. And then I had a friend at school, and we were like playing Batman and Robin out in the field. And again, throwback to the childhood. Set those guys down. But this was kind of the pride and joy at Christmas. And, you know, when you have all of these toys and all these things that you have in the studio, you know, it's kind of hard. Wow, this is super dusty. So I apologize. Let's get out the dust rag. You know, if you have a studio, you have to have a dust rag. So I have it here. I hate this to go on camera as dusty as it is. So I apologize. I know it's already on camera, but let's pretend. So anyway, it's the Batmobile, and you know, it's an old school style, but for me, it just had incredible memories. And so that's on the shelf. And then years ago, I was really into robots. And so this little wind up robot I've had for a long time. So he literally winds up. And it was funny today, I was getting the still image ready for what's on the shelf. And guess what? I had this wound up pretty tight a few weeks ago, and it's intermittent, which means it doesn't always work right. And so I had it wind up, and all of a sudden I heard this noise as I was getting ready today. And guess what? My robot was letting me know he was up there. He started walking across the shelf, which most of you would freak out, but I know this thing works when it wants to work, and that's when it works. So there's my little robot. The key comes out, and you can wind it up, and I won't wind it up because he'll be doing his thing the whole time today. So there's my robot. I know this isn't going to focus very well, so I'll just keep it back here with me. And then if you're familiar at all with PC games, then you'll know there's a game called Fallout, and I've been playing Fallout off and on a long time, more into the smaller games where it was, you had to choose a move and then you had so many moves. It's why I'm so interested in gaming, even though I spend most of my time doing video production. I have very little time to game, but I have a Steam account. I have lots of games on there, and I do have Fallout version 4, and I've only played it for probably 30 or 40 minutes since I got it. But this is my little Vaultec, and he just reminds me that I need to take time for myself and relax. And if that means playing a game, then so be it. I can't get in my Batmobile, even though I found out that there's a company that makes replicas of the Batmobile for thousands and thousands of dollars, and I thought that was interesting. And then not so long ago, my oldest son went to Disneyland, and he came back with 2 figures in the box. He knew that I was an Indiana Jones fan and loved these movies. And it just makes me think of taking adventures and the challenges that you face. And of course, in this scene, he has the little bag of sand, and also in this little display up here on my shelf is the little golden statue that's he's in the cave trying to get, and he's got to exchange the sand for the statue and guess the weight. And if he doesn't do it right, the booby traps will set off. And that's the opening scene of Indiana Jones, the first one, because he doesn't get the sand right. And I don't know about you, have you ever been in a situation where you had to kind of give it your best guess? And I feel that way sometimes when I'm live streaming. I think I'm ready. I think I've got the bag of sand. I got the macro set. And then guess what? All of a sudden, the bag of sand falls on the ground just like that. So I have Indiana Jones, and then I put him back. This statue, this is a statue of Petra, and they actually have carved beautiful ornate buildings in the side of the mountains, and it's just amazing. My son in the Marine Corps, my second oldest son, so my first oldest son brought me back that Indiana Jones character, and then the guy that he fights on the plane, I think in the first movie or second movie. But then my son bought me this little plaque, and this is actually out of stone from Petra, I believe, or out of clay or sand in there, and that is standing behind Indiana Jones on my shelf. And then I've got some dice up here that I just have, and they have different pictures on them. They have the bat symbol, they have the Joker, they have the Penguin, they have Batman on them. And so I put those up here in a stack on my shelf. And again, these things on my shelf are just meant to give me something to smile about, to stop and think about my childhood and just kind of find some joy in the day, especially when you're meeting a deadline and you just need to have that moment of revigor, being revitalized. I need something like that. So that's what the shelf represents. I don't know if you have one or if you're going to make a shelf, but I wouldn't just put, you know, lenses and cameras on those unless that's your happy thought. Put other things in your background, and they have meaning. And I've shared about the monkeys before. My second oldest son brought those home with me as well, and they're hand carved. And so I have those a lot of times in some of my videos when I do unboxings right behind me or on the table. Because again, it reminds me that I have kids, that they're grown up now, and that now they get to find little important gifts to bring their dad. So fascinating and fun. And that's kind of where all that is coming from. So I don't know what you have on this shelf, but I would really encourage you to consider making those little displays and things in your studio. So that's why I did this little mixed bag segment on what's on the shelf. And so you got the robot, you got my Vault-Tec guy with the ray gun in his hand, you got Batman and Robin with the Batmobile, you've got Indiana Jones and that Petra background. And then I have some Bose speakers up there. And then this has been kind of my little duck mascot, and it's always somewhere near my desk and has been for years. It's just a tiny duck. And I used to spend a lot of time duck hunting when I was younger. And that's another thing that just reminds me of happy moments in my life. And so that's what's on the shelf. So now let's talk studio, right? Let me give a shout out here and see who's live with me. I see you, Freddie. I don't know if you have anybody else here with you. Let me rotate this and make sure I'm seeing all of that. Yeah, it looks like it's just you and I tonight, bud. So the next thing I want to talk about is my BenQ monitor, and that's why I have the overhead camera. So let me switch to, let me try a macro here, see if it works. Wanted to show you this one graphic first. Let me try this macro. There you go. So that's kind of, I had them all together on display, everything there without the duck. Oh, I forgot. Let's cut back. I have this Pez figure too that I got for Christmas. And you probably recognize that character right there. And Star Wars, right? Mandalorian. Boba Fett came from that race anyway. So that's the little characters on the shelf again, right there. And that's my shelf that I get to look at, and I get to turn the display around at different times, so I can just enjoy that. So now I want to talk a little bit about my BenQ monitor. So I want to switch to SuperSource here. Should have a macro for that tonight. Let's see if things are working. Yeah, there it is. I'm still here. So Life Journey Productions, I want to change this graphic because it didn't change. And I want to talk a little bit about my BenQ 32-inch monitor. So let's switch over here to my overhead camera. There you go. See if it works. Yep. So now I can take this and aim it down at my BenQ monitor. So there you go. And the reason I want to talk about my BenQ monitor is you can see right now it has 3 different windows, and I can make 4. If I turn on my PC, I can literally assign my PC to that screen right here that's blank. So I have my laptop live right now. That's where I'm watching the stream. That's where I have my Stream Deck app in there. But my PC is for backup in case I need to do an editing job and something doesn't work right. Then I can fire up the PC, and I have SSD drives. I'm recording on that one. Let me pull this one real quick. Hopefully my computer won't freak out. But I have these. They work. They'll download at about 550 megabytes a second. So you can record from the ATEM Mini Pro, the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, the Extreme, and the Extreme ISO right to one of these. And I believe this one is a 2 terabyte. I have some 1 terabytes, and I'll put a job on these. Or for instance, my whole wife's podcast, all that stuff is on one of these. And so when I do work, I can work right from it. And I can adapt this to a regular USB port or USB-C, and I can work right from it. So if I need to quickly make a change to my other PC, I can do that. I save the projects that I'm working on right on this SSD drive, and then I do back it up on a regular traditional 12 terabyte hard drive. But these work really fast, and that's why I have them. But this BenQ monitor has the ability to make quick changes. And so I have a little puck here. I'll show you this. So I can click on this, click on signal input right here, and I can go to just a single input if I want to. So that's going to show you my control software, because I switched over. Instead of it just being in the one screen, now it's full screen. And then I could go to 2 up on this monitor if I wanted to. So picture in picture. So it's going to flip over to that, and then you have picture in picture up here, and there you see me. My multi-view is up there. I can click on it again, back up here, and I can also go side by side, which I really like about this monitor. So it is changing, and now I have 2 things side by side. And if I exit the puck, then and here's I have the puck down here. Put it on the screen right here. Let's change the camera 3 here. So here's my puck that I'm adjusting, and it just rotates, and you can go forward and back, and you have some quick buttons on it. So back to super source here. So I can switch to 4 view again. And usually when I go to 4 view, I have to do some reassigning. So we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, so I have some duplication here. So I'll just go, oh, they're good. So what I want to do is I want to change the top left up here. So I'm going to click on the puck. I'm going to go back to top left, and then I'm going to scroll down to HDMI 1, and that's where my HyperDeck comes in. And so there's the HyperDeck, and you can see the camera, the same view that I'm showing you through the main camera in that screen right there. So again, the BenQ 32-inch monitor for me solved a number of problems, right? I need to monitor the HyperDeck just to make sure things are queued up. And you're going to see that in the series, because I'm going to talk about how the BenQ monitor becomes an extra monitor for me. I can also assign anything to the left will make sound. So the other 4 displays won't. So if I have a single image on the screen, I can turn the volume up and down. If I have a double image on the screen, what's on the left will be able to project sound. And if I have 4 pictures on the screen, 4 different inputs, the top left, and that's why I put the HyperDeck up there. And this is the HyperDeck. If I was to push record, the camera on the right is going to go, or hit play. The camera that you're seeing right there is going to go back to a video source. You see it switching. It takes about that long, and that's my intro video. So I hit record again. You'd have to hit it twice to go into recording, but if you hit it once, you go into the input. So if I hit it once, it's going to switch back to my overhead camera. And there you are again. So that is actually showing my HyperDeck, and the back of the HyperDeck has the HDMI out so that you can have a confidence monitor for what you're playing video. So a lower thirds graphic animation, a whole screen animation, a bug animation, all of those things could be displayed up here. So I can just glance over and make sure everything's working right. And then I can look in my preview right here and know that it's live. And that's what you see right here. This is live. So again, my BenQ monitor not only has ability to adjust real easily, it's got some just really great tools. So I'm going to switch to my desktop here, and I will show you this to you. At least I thought I was going to show that with you. There it goes. I can't make it any bigger than this, so I'll put it kind of over my icons, and then we'll switch to my desktop here. And so real quickly, this software right here is also, I can adjust where things go and make all kind of fine-tune adjustments. I can change the colors. I can do a side-by-side 709 next to an RGB And so there's lots of options, especially guys, if you are doing real technical stuff, like you want to do color correction and all that stuff. You can actually assign a different color source to the 4 inputs, which is incredible. So if I wanted to, I could do a side by side and I could do a comparison of different codecs for or color sources for a photograph or a video I'm doing. So if you're using DaVinci Resolve to do color correction, then yeah, you could dive right in to Rec 709, or you could go sRGB. You could even click it over to HDR if you're doing some movie editing and it's a high dynamic range video and you want to really look at those darks and those grays and see how much depth you have in it. You need a monitor that can switch over to that. So it's over $1,000. It's a 32-inch BenQ. It's been out now for a couple of years. It gets great reviews. I have it mounted to the wall behind my desk. It's not on the stand. Here's a picture of it. The way it looks like, let's see, I can bring this up into window 2 in SuperSource. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to go to Media Player 2. So that's what it looks like. If it's on the regular mount and I kept the mount, it's back in my garage so that I can actually use it again if I wanted to change rooms or go back to a desk. And you can see the little puck there, and that's just a great little tool to have on your desk so that you can make changes. So again, the BenQ 32-inch monitor has been around for a while. I'll put some links later tonight in the description of this video, or if you're watching this for the very first time and you weren't on the live, then you can check that out. And I will have a link there, as well as how to get to some of the other tools that I have. I may even have a link to Batman and Robin, the version I have of the Batmobile. And we'll talk more about the shelf as episodes continue here throughout the channel, but that's all I'm going to cover tonight on the BenQ monitor. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to ask those at the end tonight, and as well as what's on the shelf. Now, again, last week I had the honor of having Adam, who's the designer of MixEffect, and I'm really impressed with the app. I've had a chance to play with it some since I came back from the other side of the mountains. I did have a busy week last week getting ready to go over and do an install. And so as I was interviewing Adam, I had to shift gears to get ready for that trip. Left Friday morning very, very early. Had to do some packing on Thursday. So Wednesday was kind of my day to go over my list and make some final communications with that venue before the install, because it's about a 4.5-hour drive. It's not like I can just run back over there later the next day if things didn't go right. And so I was just reminiscing as I was driving and thinking about how things fell into place to have Adam on. And I was just really excited about that. I'm excited about the update that came out that night, last Tuesday night. And if you haven't tried the free version of MixEffect, again, it's an application that will run your ATEM software. It adds some incredibly cool features. There's already some new updates that came out again Tuesday. There's another update coming out, and that's what you're going to see tonight in this little clip as I go to Adam's channel, because he has a training video now, kind of an overview like he did with us last week, but a lot more thorough on his channel. And I did get a chance to watch that when I got back on, I think, Saturday or Sunday, and I was really impressed. So Adam, if you're listening or you watched that, you did a really good job. That all has happened, he said, since last week's live right here on Life Journey Production Studios. So the MixEffect app, I think, is going to be a great tool. You can be remote, so I can use it back on my table or on the chair set. Again, it runs from my iPad. It also runs from my iPhone. It's a little easier to run from the iPad, as you're going to see in this video. But the cool thing is that it does things faster and easier than using the control software, because it's a complete rebuild. Adam basically started and built new software that he could make into an app. He said last week in the interview that he's very much Apple driven. He's been around Apple products for years, and so he's very familiar with that. He's still learning about all the devices that Blackmagic has and making adjustments to the app for those. And so if you have one of those more expensive consoles, those are going to be a part of upgrades very soon. But I did reach out to Adam and ask him if I could show you this clip, because he's going to talk about a new feature coming out that I think is really, really cool. So get ready for that, as well as a couple other things. And I'm going to play it all the way to where he tells you about how you can download the app. And then we'll put the website up on the screen as a shout out to Adam Tao, the designer of MixEffect, an Apple app for your iPhone or for your iPad, as well as other Apple devices. So again, check that app out. And I want to cut over to this camera here. And then in just a second, I'm going to roll that Adam little video. And I hope that you will remember to go to his site and watch the whole video. This is going to start in about 20 minutes into the video. And just to give him, like I said, I was going to play it right live from the website, but that didn't work. So I'm going to take you there right now and show you my desktop. So this is where I went to play it, and skip the trial. It's Adam Tao, and it's his YouTube channel. And the video is entitled MixEffect Tutorial. It came out on May 16th, 2021. And it is about 29 minutes long. And we're starting at 20 minutes. So it's a few minutes. So I hope you'll sit back and you will enjoy this video. I'm going to try again another macro tonight, and let's see if this thing runs.
Take a look at the documentation at mixeffect.app/docs for complete information on how to control the app. New in MixEffect 1.02 is OSC support. So OSC support allows you to control MixEffect using Companion and a Stream Deck. So if we take a look again at our super source, I'm going to switch to a page that has in my on my Stream Deck that allows me to kind of like reposition just by pushing buttons like this. I'm just, as you can see in the screen, I'm just moving this window up and down. I can do things such as change to different switchers. Say I want to go to the audio, I just tap the button for audio, tap the button for macros, media, transitions. I can actually change SuperSource presets. So if I want to go to the 4 grid like that, or the 4 grid like that, we'll probably want to change the source for camera 1 since we had it on camera 3, or actually box 1. There we go. So I'm just pushing these presets and they're changing in real time. If I wanted to highlight 1, I just push the button on the Stream Deck. 2, 3, 4. So if you're familiar with the Stream Deck, you don't want to mess with the iPad interface. You can easily do everything from the Stream Deck. It's great. As you can also see down in the bottom right corner, there's actually the iPhone. My iPhone 11 Pro Max is running MixEffect, and it's basically the exact same interface that you see on the iPad, except that's been optimized for the iPhone interface. So we see Media Player 1 has been selected. I'm going to switch back to Camera 1. I'm going to do an auto transition straight from the phone. You can have this wonderful haptic feedback when you move the fader bar. So you can feel each frame that's moving. Go back like that. As you can see, there's no columns, multiple columns on the iPhone interface. It's basically just one big column. But again, you have full control over what you want to display in the switcher page by just tapping Edit this page, and you can see all the different options that you can add to your column here. Close that. So a few more things before we close things out. Over here in MixEffect settings, you have a lot of tweaks for the interface. So things like differentiating your SuperSource boxes with colors. You have a sticky preset option, so you can always see this is coming up in MixEffect 1.03. You can always see the currently selected preset here on the left-hand side. It's kind of like docked there. You can change how quickly your presets run. So let's say you want like an instant change. You can just do this, boom, and there's no animation when switching between SuperSource presets. Or you can add like an extra slow one if you want to kind of emphasize a transition. You can do like that, okay? I like the fast one, personally. I've touched briefly about automations. One of the other cool automations that I have is this feature called Video Follows Audio. So what that is that you can turn this on and you can, first let's configure it. And you can say things like when a certain audio level for say a microphone 1 goes above a certain threshold, change the SuperSource preset to say standard 1. So I'll make sure that's on SuperSource 1. I'll save that and say when the audio dips below a certain level, like minus 45 decibels, we will go to, let's say, the 4 horizontal crop, this one here, okay? So I'm going to turn on Video Follows Audio, and you're going to see what happens. So if I start talking in mic 1, it's going to trigger the fact that I'm above 20 dB, and it's going to go, and actually I need to talk above 20 dB, so let's raise the volume right there. So if I talk at 20 dB, it's going to trigger that, and it's going to switch to standard 1 preset. But now if I stop talking, and after a small brief period of time, it's going to trigger the Video Follows Audio for that and go back to the 4 horizontal crop. I'm going to lower the thing here. So you can see how if you configure your audio settings, your Video Follows Audio settings correctly, you can have your ATEM switcher switching automatically as people are talking, as people are not talking. The switching happens automatically. You don't have to do anything. You can focus on other stuff. You know, no hands. It's great. So I'm going to turn off actually Video Follows Audio so it doesn't do this automatic switching during this demonstration. And I'm going to go back to, let's say, this screen here. So let's actually go to this one here. So that's in a pinch what MixEffect does. If you have an iPad or an iPhone and you want complete control over your ATEM switcher, this is the app to get. And I don't say this just because I wrote it. I say this because, you know, there's a lot of people who are using it and they seem to really love it. From the SuperSource to the macros to the custom switcher pages. I think it's great, and they do too. So I encourage you to download MixEffect from the iOS App Store. It's a free download, free to try, and it comes with a 30-day trial of MixEffect Pro, which you see basically all the things that I demoed here come with MixEffect Pro. If you just want to use the free version, you have access to basic switcher controls. You can change your program in preview. You can change your transition styles. You can play with the fader bar, and you can do cut and auto. And that's basically it. But if you want more, if you want Video Follows Audio, if you want shortcut integration, you want to see and interact with your macros, if you want access to SuperSource, you need to get MixEffect Pro, which is currently at an introductory price of $50. So get it now before the price might go up. Who knows? I hope you've enjoyed this quick tutorial on MixEffect, and let me know what you think about the app. Wherever you are, whether it's a Facebook user group, there's a MixEffect user group, or one of the many Blackmagic ATEM user groups that are out there, I contribute there. There's Twitter at MixEffect app. You can go join our Slack community. We have a Slack community on MixEffect. So if you just go to mixeffect.app/community, you can see all the links on the places where I'm contributing to and participating in. So I will meet you where you are. Thank you for watching, and I will be back in the future with another in-depth tutorial on MixEffect.
Well, thank you, Adam, for allowing me to have you on this show. It was your video, and so if you're listening or you're watching, thank you so much. I didn't know if he would pop on tonight, but we did, like I said, had an email conversation back, and he gave me his blessing to play that moment. So obviously, it's just one tool that's out there. I don't want to tell you how to live your life and how to spend your money, but I do think tonight it's going to be a great tool. I'm not using MixEffect tonight just because of the fact that I'm still learning it. I did spend quite a bit of time in the last 48 hours actually in my studio using it, and so I'm a fan. So again, tonight, Mixed Bag. If you're just joining us or you're watching here on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Keith. This is a live video. We looked at what's on my shelf and the story behind some of those figures up there. We've talked about my BenQ 32-inch monitor. Again, I like it. I mean, lots of people have multiple monitors. For me, it's nice to have one that I can divide into one big monitor, two picture-in-picture. I can do side-by-side as well as 4 separate little screens. Now, they're not huge, but if you're around video production, you're familiar with even smaller screens that people would use, and even smaller screens that Blackmagic Design sells that are side-by-side. So I love my BenQ monitor. It was a great investment, and I thank those guys for designing that. The other thing is MixEffects, having ATEM on last week again, and seeing that there's already a kind of a tutorial walkthrough on his YouTube channel, which is great. So please go watch that. I did put that graphic up when he was still on the screen, how to get a hold of him. Here it is again. I'll pop it right up there. So ATEM Tau, MixEffect, mixeffect.app. And again, you can download it as a free version. You can get a 30-day trial of the Pro. If you decide to purchase the Pro, it's a one-time $49.99. This is not sponsored. I wasn't sponsored by Batman. Wasn't sponsored by ATEM Tau. I wasn't sponsored by BenQ. These are just things that I have thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm enjoying this MixEffect app as well. Now, the third thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is the HyperDeck and how the series is coming along, as well as touch base with you about my trip over to Snohomish, which is over north of Seattle, right outside of Everett, Washington, if you're familiar with that part of the United States. So I jumped in the car Friday morning, drove over the pass. They ordered all the equipment. I took a couple things with me because my instincts told me we might have a little bit of difficulty running to where the camera location was going to be. So this venue that I went to is a church. They haven't been having live services for a long time. Recently, they started live services again. But the goal for them, and I've been friends with this guy for years and years and years. So because I'm doing live streaming, I reached out to him, and we talked about Facebook, and he's doing some recordings on Facebook. But when we started talking about his venue, it looked like the best way to reopen his venue would be to have multiple rooms where people could gather safely if need be, if they wanted to come to a live service, and if they wanted to stay at home, then they could watch a Facebook Live. They're not on Facebook Live now. They're not doing any live. They do a Zoom meeting in the mornings, I believe, so people can join that. But that live event where they have ability to gather, that's been kind of on the fence until just recently. And people have been staying home, obviously, because of they're just not even wanting to be exposed. So with that said, I was asked to come help find a way to send a live signal to TVs. And the goal was to be able to start with 3 or 4. We ended up with 2 TVs hooked up before we left. Some cat cable has to be replaced because we're actually using an Ori 1 input and 8 matrix, also an extender. So you can plug in Cat 6 or Cat 7 cable, and then you can run up to 150 feet with this particular device. And so it has an HDMI out that you can monitor it, and it also has an HDMI input in. And so they got an Extreme, not an ISO, but the Extreme, so they could record the program. They have 1 camera now, but they're also bringing in their Macintosh for their notes using PowerPoint. And so we needed to put a monitor in. We needed to put the Extreme in. We needed to hook up. We chose for budget and the long distance. For focusing, autofocusing, we chose the Sony A6400. You know, I'm a Canon guy, but it came highly recommended. I'm here on YouTube. And so it's been around for a while. It's very reliable. It has a clean HDMI out. It also will not go off if you have a battery in it. So we have a battery in it. It's up behind the sound booth. That's also where they run sound, and they send a signal to the ATEM Extreme through channel 1. So the mix is done right on the headphones. They don't have a separate room like some of the venues I visited to mix the live video audio. So they're doing the live venue audio as well as the Facebook Live. And they are going to do Facebook Live. They haven't done it yet. They did a dry run on Sunday. everything worked except for they had an audio issue going to the TVs in the building. And that most likely is because either that channel, it's going in channel 2 on their Extreme. Channel 1 is their Sony A6400. And then I got them a longer lens, or had them purchase a longer lens so we can shoot all the way across the auditorium up onto the stage. And so they can go wide with this lens, and they can go all the way up pretty up close. So that was a part of a kit that we bought, a 50 mil. And then I think it is a 105, but with the crop sensor, it really reaches out there. So, so kind of a review, ATEM Mini Extreme was set up. We also did 2 TVs that were mounted, and one TV was already mounted, and they ran cat cable there, and I put the ends on. As I said, we had an issue with the cat cable in one of the longest runs, and so that TV's mounted, but it's not ready to go. And then on one end, you have the matrix, 1 HDMI input, 8 outputs, so they can have up to 8 TVs eventually. They can put a confidence monitor up, big screen behind the sound booth facing the main stage. They can put one out in their lobby, which is where they were going to put TV number 4, and they haven't done that yet. And so there'll be other places and other rooms that they could be able to put TVs and then be able to send the audio and the video to those rooms. And what I really liked about the ATEM Extreme when it came out, they were about to order a Pro, ATEM Mini Pro, but when we got 2 HDMIs, that became important because one HDMI could be set to go to the TV matrix to all of those rooms, and the other HDMI could go to the multi-view. And of course, they can change those 2 HDMI inputs to any source they want. And that's exciting. And they could also record on it, the program. And that's exciting as well. So the Sony camera's mounted. It was really too long of the HDMI run to get it out of everybody's way. So I took an SDI cable with me and an HDMI to SDI converter, the little 3G one, as well as the opposite converter, because I had to come out of the camera HDMI, convert it to SDI, run a 20-foot SDI cable. So it came all the way down the wall, around the sound booth to the other side of where the Extreme was. And then we adapted it to another SDI to HDMI. From that, a small little HDMI cable about yo long into channel 2 in the Extreme. And so again, they're all set up. I did some training then on Saturday. I sat down with them and kind of explained to them what we're doing, as well as the pastor of that church talked about his vision. And then I talked to them about why we're doing what we're doing, how it works, how it's integrated on a whiteboard. And then we went up and did some hands-on training, and they actually helped me do some finishing install. And they're actually going to be running some more cat cable this week, and then trying to fire up that third TV, which is another large venue, and test it again this Sunday. And then we'll do a private stream to see what their bandwidth is going to look like going out of that building, to see if they have adequate bandwidth, because that's never been tested at live, because they do pre-recorded videos and upload them earlier in the week. And then they just have Zoom and a live venue on Sunday. So again, that was exciting for me to take the trip. And I share all that to say that one of the things I told them that they're going to want to get is a HyperDeck, because they played a video from a DVD player plugged into their Macintosh. And obviously they have to queue that up. It makes them have more issues because of monitoring. And the HyperDeck, like I said, could be brought into your multi-view, and you could queue it up and know it's ready to go. So they're going to get a HyperDeck eventually. We didn't feel like it was necessary right now because there's enough for them to learn. After they get everything dialed in and they find out what the issues are with playing a DVD from the Macintosh, the steps involved, then they're going to be able to understand better the benefits of having a HyperDeck that you can set to auto roll. And when you switch to the HDMI input, which you'll see in my series, it'll automatically roll the video when you have it queued up. And if you make a macro, you can set the macro to automatically change to that video on the HyperDeck and then play that video. So it's exciting to be a part of those things. And it's exciting to do this series. And part of the reason I'm not done with it is that when I wanted to go to this venue and I wanted to think through the whole concept of playing a DVD or a video like that from a PC or a Macintosh and wrap my head around that right there. So it's interesting that they do it that way and are doing it that way. And to quote my good friend from that church, Rod Ashley, shout out to you. We've known each other since I was a young 20-year-old. And he said, now, why didn't we get a HyperDeck? And I said, because one step at a time, this will get you going. So again, they have the ability to go to more inputs, and there's lots of expansion with the Extreme for them. They're using 2 HDMI inputs right now. If they add a HyperDeck, they're going to be using a couple more. And there's some loopback things that they could be doing as well. Bringing in a Zoom person in there from their desktop, and they can already show their desktop now, and they can bring in a guest just like I brought in Adam last week using Zoom. And I plan on having a Tuesday night to talk about exactly how I did that with Adam using Zoom and bringing it into SuperSource right in my ATEM. That will be a great, great night. So, so that's 3 of the things covered. I wanted to share about that trip there and give a shout out to them. You know, it's exciting to see people trying to use this technology to benefit their venues. So if it was a concert venue, a restaurant venue, a business trying to get people that are working at home, get them in some kind of live event, there's all kinds of things that ATEM could be used for: a Mini, a Pro ISO, Extreme and Extreme ISO, and all of the other switchers that Blackmagic Design has available, and the ones that I'm sure that they're going to be updating. And they have things like the web presenter as well that's just been updated that can do a couple things as well. It's not really a switcher, but it does some other things really, really well as well. I don't own one of those, never touched one, but I have watched a number of videos on that device. So I want to give you a sneak peek into my HyperDeck series. This is where I took the HyperDeck. Last week you saw me showing it, and this is where I actually do some hookup. It's going to stop before I get it completely hooked up, but I wanted to give you a little teaser tonight so you can see that I'm working on that. You can share it with your friends when it comes out. You can watch it, and hopefully it'll help you make a decision if the HyperDeck's for you. So not only did I do the first one where I just had it completely unhooked on the table, I also hooked it up to my ATEM Mini Pro on the table. And in that second video, also later on in it that you won't see until it's live, I talk about the 2 inputs I use on my Extreme compared to the 2 inputs that I used for my HyperDeck in my ATEM Mini Pro, which I still have here on my desk. And so this is a sneak peek of my HyperDeck series, part 3, part 4, and 5. I'm going to be giving sneak peeks in the next few weeks, unless I get them all done and they're released, and then there'll be no need. So again, make sure you check that out. It's going to be its own playlist right here on the channel. And I'll probably link the first video into this playlist so people can find that first video real quickly. And then I'll have links in the videos probably for the next 5 or 6 weeks once they're released right in my live, so people can just click on those links as well. So again, I made another macro. I have been building macros lately here for the live show. I don't necessarily trust them because of a couple issues we'll talk about in a episode coming up on macros, and you should enjoy that as well. So I'm just looking down. Freddie, I still just see it's you and I. So if you're watching this video after it went live, please leave any questions that you have, and I'll do my best at the end to answer those that are here live, as well as those of you who will put those in the comments, and I will try to respond to all of those. So the HyperDeck part 2, here's the sneak peek. Let's push this macro. It's button number 5 on my ATEM Mini. I'm going to cut to that camera so you can watch me push the button, just so you can have that little moment behind the scenes. I have this Canon 5D Mark III that times out after 30 minutes, so don't get that camera. for your live events, but I use it for my overhead camera. It's live right now. So let me show you that button. Let's switch to camera 3. So there's a look down at my desk, and that button, the macros are right here on the ATEM, and the first 6 coincide with your first 6 macros in the software. And I programmed button 5. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I push this button, this sneak peek should roll. Cross your fingers. Here we go. That didn't work. See, like I said, I don't necessarily trust macros. So for the longest time, I was pushing all the buttons right here in my studio anytime I cut to a video, and that macro worked in the test stages, but it's not working right now. So let me re-queue up this video. Let me cut here to camera 7, and then we will roll this video. Here's the sneak peek into HyperDeck Series Video 2. But right now, let's just focus on setting it up to play. So we're going to power it up. So we're going to grab the power cord right here, plug it in. We are going to hook up the USB-C cable to it so the software can be updated and the computer can see it. We're also going to hook up the HDMI out. So we have power hooked up. We have the USB-C cable. Now we're going to put in the HDMI monitor output. And now we need to hook it up to the ATEM Mini Pro, which is what I'm using today, coming through the converters and converting the SDI coming out of the HyperDeck into HDMI to go in the back of the ATEM Mini Pro. And so you're going to need 2 channels. So on the ATEM Mini Pro, I use channel 3 and 4, and you're probably going to use channel 3 and 4 as well. And when I use this now with my Extreme, I use channel 7 and 8, 7 being the key and 8 being the fill. So first of all, we need some SDI cables. So we're going to take these converters and we are going to do the SDI ins. And then we have HDMI out. So we're going to hook this one up to the first output right here on the back. And then we'll hook up the second one, SDI in, right there. I said it was just a tease. Actually, in reality, that video is just a little longer than that because I wanted to cut to my desk, and I decided to break up those 2 videos because the next video I walk through the HyperDeck and the front panel, and I just really felt like that was a good cutting point. On my other version 1 or week 1 of it, or day 1, or video 1, however you do it, it's going to have kind of an intro of the HyperDeck as well as some other things and how I use it, because I really cover all 3 converters in that video, not in depth. I'll cover each one more in depth in those videos like you saw me in version 2. I also will cover the HDMI to 6G converter that I use, and that's how I brought my smartphone in tonight, right into that converter, and I was able to come into the HyperDeck. And so that's something I'm going to cover as well. I'm hoping I can get it done in 5. There might end up being 6 videos because I've decided since I launched that series that I want to do a little bit about lower thirds graphics. I get a lot of questions from people. How can they do animated graphics? Do they have to do those through certain softwares? How do you render a video to make sure it plays in the HyperDeck? So I'm going to cover all that stuff. I'm also going to show you how it's hooked up to my Extreme. I'm going to do a little integrating here and show you how I roll a video in a live. I even want to record a macro in that video series that actually starts the HyperDeck, switches to a video that I want. I want to show you how you do that as well. Obviously, I need more practice because for some reason, my HyperDeck video did not roll tonight. So that was kind of the HyperDeck sneak peek series right here. I did have a graphic for that. So we really had 3 sessions tonight so far. Let's just review those real quickly. We had session number 1, what's on my shelf. And I had these little guys off of my shelf and talked about those little guys and characters and what they mean. Then I covered my BenQ monitor, and it looks like this right over my face because it's a PNG, but that's fine. I don't mind having that. Then we dove into MixEffect, the update, and Adam gave me the blessing to show that little clip. Again, I was going to play it right from his YouTube channel, but I kept getting, every time I would put it on pause and wait to show it later, I would get a commercial, and I just wanted to play the video tonight. And then from the MixEffect, we did our sneak peek of the HyperDeck series. And again, the goal of this channel has been to talk about different things that I have purchased. I don't have sponsors for this channel. I do have Amazon associate links available in my notes with a warning there to let you know if you use those, you'll be supporting the channel. So thank you if you do that. I appreciate it very much. Again, and I've had a couple people approach me from other countries asking me to do reviews of items. And right now I'm focusing on the things I have in my studio, helping people understand those things because I can push the buttons and I really don't want to add anything. It's just naturally things are coming at me like MixEffect, and that's something I do want to add. And you saw in the video tonight, thank you, Adam. He talked about the integration with the Stream Deck, and I do have a Stream Deck here in the studio. It's right here on my desk. So my Stream Deck is right here, and I actually have my logo on the front of it, and I'm looking forward to testing that feature out. I do have that update hopefully this week coming out so that I can play with that and all the other changes that Adam has made with MixEffect. And the HyperDeck series is also to help answer the questions. The interesting thing about the HyperDeck is there's very little information out there about it. There's more videos now, and I've seen added videos since I did my first video on the HyperDeck. But when I was doing my research, I had to make all those mistakes myself. And when I first got it, I got it just to play video. Little did I know what I could do through the recording input, that I could also use it as a camera input. And if you know anything about the HyperDeck, if you're not playing a video, you're taking up 2 channels, right? The main channel, which you play videos through, I have it in channel 7 in my ATEM Mini Extreme. And you'll see in that video, I had it in channel 3 in my ATEM Mini Pro because it took that channel to just play videos. But if you're going to do animated graphics, right, you have to have, when you have transparency in those graphics, right, so you can see through them, you don't want my shirt moraying through the graphic. So you're going to use the alpha channel, which takes up another input. And when you only have 4 inputs in a Mini or Pro and ISO, that's why I got the Extreme, because 2 of my inputs are taken up in my ATEM Mini Extreme by the HyperDeck. And now I still can use it like I was using it before as a input for a camera. So I can't play a video and do a camera at the same time, but you saw that I can switch between those, and I'll do a demo of that and do a really thorough rundown of how that works in the video series. So I hope you'll check that out. I did get a couple notes here that people have jumped on. So here we are in, we have been live for an hour, and we've got people on here now. I'm just looking. I like to give you a shout out. It says there's 7 people currently live if I look at YouTube, but I go usually by people that give me a shout out. So if you haven't yet, I'd love to know who you are, where you're from. So we got Freddie on here, got Indy on here, Lenny, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Ferreira. So great to have you on here. I apologize if I destroyed your name. You can go ahead and mess up my name and we'll be even. So Awesome. Indy and Lenny and anybody else give me a shout out. So I do want to take some questions. So if you have any questions, let's start. If you have any questions about what I covered tonight, the shelf, maybe you have a comment about something you have in your studio or something that you got, put those in the notes. Maybe you have a thought about my BenQ monitor or a question, or maybe about MixEffects. I would love to hear those, as well as my HyperDeck little sneak peek there. So if you have a question, please let me know. Freddie, that's a great question. I didn't look at the model number tonight. So I had one of those days where I spent most of the day just preparing graphics and all that. And so I have to apologize. He's asking me what model number that BenQ is, and I will put that in the notes as soon as we get off the air, as well as a link. I think that's correct. It's an older version. They have a newer version out, but this one came so well recommended. It's been out, I think, for 2 or 3 years. So I will put that in the notes. I apologize for not being able to answer that question, but I can't remember off the top of my head the model number. So thank you for letting me know how many you're watching, Freddie. How long are the SDI cables? The SDI cables that I have here in the studio, I think are like 3 feet. And then when I ran the SDI cable at that church venue, I purchased a 20-footer because we knew the camera was up the wall as high as I could reach. I'm 6 foot. I can probably reach another 3 feet. And then we wanted to run it around the outside of the sound booth. So I purchased a 20-foot cable, thinking that if we tried to use a micro HDMI cable and run all that way, we were going to have issues. It worked, but I wasn't sure or confident we weren't going to drop frames. So I just made the executive decision to install that kit. And then we used the micro cable, braided one that I got that was really high quality, to attach that to the camera. And so from the camera down to the sound booth at the base of the wall at about 3 feet height, at kind of bar height, that's how far that little cable runs, HDMI, and then the rest of it is SDI. We have extra length too, so we can move that camera up higher or move it around the wall if we need to. So here in the studio, I think 3 feet, and I have a SDI cable that comes out of my 6G converter, which goes HDMI to 6G, and that is even shorter. I think that's 1 foot, and then 2 3-foot cables, and that was because I wasn't sure where I was going to put the converters in relationship to my HyperDeck, and I literally have those on my desk. I should show you guys real quickly here. Do I have a camera angle of that? Sort of. Let's try 3. So right back here, you can see my converters, and they're stacked up. SDI, HDMI to, or SDI to HDMI, SDI to HDMI, and then the bigger bottom one is the 6G converter. I know you can only see an angle of it. If I go back a little bit, you can see more of it. It's just under the right side of my BenQ monitor. And so I'm just talking to the screen when I cut to camera number 3. So great question. Thank you, Freddie. Freddie and I've actually been face-to-face on Zoom. So shout out to you, Freddie, in Venezuela. He reached out to me not too long ago, and I do a free 1-hour consult, mainly with people that are potential clients that want to dive into that. And so down the road, Freddie and I will possibly be doing that. But we've had a couple conversations just to stay in touch as he makes decisions in his home studio, which is fascinating. Maybe one of these days we'll have Freddie on here live so you guys can meet him. So, and I believe in relationships. I appreciate every subscriber. I go to every channel. I'm always surprised how many people don't have any videos on their channel that they've created. They have a YouTube channel and they'll link other people's videos. And if they have a video that they've put up, I always make a comment there thanking them for subscribing. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. And if you have subscribed or you haven't subscribed, that's one way to test me. And if I haven't given you a shout out, you give me a hard time here in the notes and I'll make sure I find you and tell you thank you in a note on YouTube. Okay, so yeah, macros. I've always been one of those things that I haven't been that. I don't know. I don't like to ice skate on ponds, so I don't know if the ice will ever be thick enough for me. I'm not chicken, right? To use some slang. I apologize to all the chickens in the world. I just don't know all the time exactly the course. It seems like macros need to know where they've started and where they ended. So if you decide to use them out of order, there seems to be glitches, and I'm still sorting on that. I'm hoping that MixEffect will solve some of the problems that I was having, just because it's more intuitive to just touch a button on my iPad. So we'll see. So again, this is question and answer time, and I would love to hear your questions. So I'm just looking here to see if there are any more. So if you do have a question, I would love to answer it, or do my best to answer it. I thank you guys for tuning in live and joining me. My plan is to be here every Tuesday, unless I, for some reason, cannot be here in the studio. I try to do most of my scheduling around Tuesdays because this is an important thing for me. I do have some videos I will be uploading before the end of the month, not just the HyperDeck series. I actually have some videos in the can, but I've been really, which means for those of you that don't use that terminology, means I've already shot them and they're waiting on a hard drive to be edited. I even shot some 100mm macro B-roll that I want to integrate into some of the HyperDeck series. I haven't been doing a lot of B-roll. B-roll is any kind of video footage that you take that's not the main person on the camera. So it could be someone tying their shoes would be B-roll. It could show a car going by. It could be B-roll. It could be a reveal, a drone shot, revealing what you're about to go close up on. But B-roll is a great tool to draw people's interest in. And I use B-roll all the time when I'm creating videos. That's the close-up shots of the SDI converters. That's the close-up shots of the HyperDeck. And you've even seen technically some B-roll tonight when I'm not on the screen and you're just seeing my desk, or even seeing Adam tonight. That was considered B-roll, even though he was an A focus in my B-roll. I was not in it. So again, those kind of questions are great. And if you have any for me on those, or if there's something we've covered in the last few weeks or the last few videos, I would love to answer those questions as well. So Freddie keeps asking me, when am I going to release the first HyperDeck series videos? I think, Freddie, it's going to be in the next couple days. I worked most of today on the HyperDeck first two videos, and I think I have the first one ready to render. Then I do a final rendering. I walk away from it for a while, get something to eat, come back, sit down, look at it from hopefully other people's perspective, and then make any adjustments, add some footage, B-roll, a photograph, sometimes just an arrow pointing at something that I'm talking about so that I know what it is, but that doesn't mean that you do. So sometimes I'll use an arrow to point at it, and you saw an arrow in that last video I just played. So again, if you watched last week's, you have a sneak peek at HyperDeck Series version 1, and this week I showed you a sneak peek at version 2. Next week, you're going to see a sneak peek of the third video, and I may release those a couple days apart, even when I release them, because that's just kind of how YouTube algorithm works. It doesn't know that you're going to put 4 videos out in the day, and I don't really think it knows what to do with that. So it's nice to get them out, you to like them and share them, and then they'll just live on my channel, and I can refer my clients to them. And if people ask questions in a live stream, I'll be able to refer them to those videos. So, well, we're almost completely out of time. It is 14 after. So if there's no more questions, I'm just looking down here to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, if you are on and you haven't given me a shout out, please do that so I can say thank you to those of you who are here. I don't see anybody new to mention. If you're watching this video recorded, I will love to hear your questions as well. And if you come up with a question and you want to put it in the notes later in the video, please do. Again, next week we will be live again on Tuesday, so I hope you'll join me. Hopefully we'll have that HyperDeck Series version 1 out, and we may even have 2 out, Freddie, before next Tuesday's live, because those 2 videos are almost done. In fact, tomorrow morning, I'll actually be building video number 3 from the footage that I shot. Now, I still have some footage to shoot in some of the later versions because I wanted to think them through before I shoot it all. So I'll be shooting hopefully some video for 4 and 5 and some B-roll for 4 or 5 later this week or early next week before we go live again. So from me to you, thank you so much for being on live. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you ring the bell, the way the algorithm works is you get an alert, and that you'll know as soon as I put my still up. I've been trying to put my stills up and saying I'm having a live on Tuesdays earlier in the day now. And then I try to go live a couple minutes before my clock starts ticking down. I always am on 7 minutes before I go live. So if you program your clock to be with me at 4 o'clock, your time, whatever that equates, I'm in Washington, so that's Pacific Standard Time. I know where Freddie is. It's 7 o'clock. So shout out to Venezuela and other places. I'm sure it's different times. Go ahead and throw the times in here. I would love to know what time it is presently where you're from. And I try to be on 4 o'clock to get it out there so other people from other countries and other parts of the United States can come, because it's 3 hours if you just go to the other side of the United States, as well as up in Canada, and then down in South America, Central America, over into the islands. And then you have all of European people, Australia, and all those areas too. And I look forward to those people being on live as well. And then places like Texas, which we've had here on live as well. So that's it for me. I'm going to actually take a risk, and I'm going to try to play the outro video tonight from a macro. Should I? Give me your vote right now. Should I push the button, or should I go back to manual mode? And I know there's a delay, so I'm going to pause here and give you a few seconds to answer that. But I do have a button that says on here, outro, it's button number 6. And who knows if that's going to play or not. So your vote quickly, yes or no. I can do it manually, or I can try my macro. You guys get to make the decision. You get to tell me if you want me to push the button, and I'll just give you a few more minutes here, a few more seconds, and we'll make a decision. I get a thank you from Indy. That's not a vote. Indy, do you want me to push that macro button to see if the outro rolls, or do you want me to go ahead and do it manually? (8:16 p.m.) Push it. Okay, Freddie's vote's in. Button number 6. Oh, wow. 2 for button pushing. Anybody else want to vote? Lenny, are you out there? You want to vote? Time is ticking away. Anybody else that didn't tell me you're here? You're going to give yourself up if you vote, but go ahead and give me a shot. So I have 2 votes for button 6, no votes for me to do it manually. A few more seconds here. I know, again, there's a delay here on Facebook, so I don't want to ask you to vote and then not give you a chance to respond. Okay, well, it looks like I'm only getting 2 votes. Push it. Button number 6. Okay, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here on live. And I look forward to seeing you again live next Tuesday at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell. Please share this video. If you liked it and you enjoyed it, a thumbs up. And I will say goodbye with one of my little friends from the shelf. He is a bobblehead and he's got a ray gun, but I promise you it will not hurt you. It's not live. So anyway, I'll see you guys here at the next video on Life's Journey Productions. I am Keith, and it's been a blast. Thank you so much. Button 6. It worked.